Hello, welcome back to the James Ramblin' Reviews channel, and this time we're going to be talking about House of the Dragon Season 2 once more, as I did come off of 2 or 3 hours ago of watching the episode, letting myself digest it a bit so that I can unpack my thoughts right here in this video. So before I get into how I feel, I have to give a disclaimer here, because there's some channels on YouTube that do these spoiler-filled deep dives of these episodes with specific details of what happens in an episode, but right now we're not going to be spoiling anything. So if you're wondering if I'm going to spoil something in this episode, no, I'll just give my overall thoughts on the episode as a whole, and so there's definitely that, but I'll get right into this episode. So House of the Dragon Season 2 Episode 3, it picks up where the last episode picks up off of, where you get to see what happens next in this series and what's going to happen after that, and how the characters and what the characters are sort of going through, and it still kind of is setting the stage of what's coming next. There's no big action set pieces or any big battles yet. There's nothing of a kind. I would assume that later on in the series we're going to see some bigger battles and stuff, so that it builds up to this war that's going to be happening so that more action can take place. But this time you get a bit more about Rhaenyra, a bit more about Daemon, and a bit more about Alicent, and there's also the Criston Cole Knight guy that kind of has his own spin on what's going on in this kind of episode. So it's interesting to see what these characters are kind of going through. I do definitely still think that it is some of the best acting that I've seen, because the characters and the actors that the actors that are playing these characters, they take the roles very seriously. You can invest in the role so much, and yeah, the episode did definitely feel slow at times, but the conversations, they weren't like these random out of nowhere conversations where they're just saying these random things. Like, they actually have a reason for why they're talking about a certain thing, and that's definitely what's good about this episode. There's like reasons for why they're talking about a certain thing, why they're planning to go to war, why they disagree with each other, why they're doing this and why they're doing that. So there's definitely that kind of stuff. But I have to say that Daemon Targaryen, he was definitely the best part, and I just know he was the best part of season 1. But he embraces his role so much, and you can definitely tell that he is scheming something, he is wanting to plan something, he really wants to do something in this sort of universe. And Rhaenyra does get quite a few good moments in here as well, as she's trying to unravel these things with Alicent, and I won't spoil what that is, but she does try and confront Alicent about this certain thing in the episode, and it certainly contains an interesting dynamic between the two characters, as in season 1 you did get to see some interesting dynamics between the two characters, so seeing it kind of proceed into this season was certainly interesting. So there's a lot that kind of happened in this episode, and I still have to say that the fact that we're getting weekly television is really good, because sometimes when it comes to TV shows, right, I just don't like the idea of binging it, because I'm not going to remember everything, and then I might have to watch a recap, and then it'll take ages for me to remember every single thing that happened. So there's definitely that. I would give this about a 7 out of 10. It's not I wouldn't say it's the best, most outstanding masterpiece television of all time, but it certainly knows what it's setting up and knows what it's doing, so it's proceeding through to that. It knows what it wants to do next, and my biggest hope for this series is that we're going to see a lot of action. I am glad though that we aren't getting a lot of sex scenes and a lot of violence. We're actually fleshing out this story. There's reasons for why the story is continuing, because the reason why I say that is because if we're going to compare this to Game of Thrones, for example, I have to say that with Game of Thrones, they kind of just had a lot of gore and a lot of violence and a lot of sex before the initial plot that was happening, so the plot would take seasons to develop, whereas here, we're actually getting a fully fleshed out storyline that's going to have payoffs and conclusions, and that's really what I enjoy about this series. I prefer it so much more than Game of Thrones. I have no intention of going back and rewatching Game of Thrones, so there's that. And so that is kind of my review of House of the Dragon Season 2 Episode 3. I tried to record this a few times, because there's times where I try to record something and I don't really get my proper thoughts out properly, and I did give myself a few hours to think about this episode. So there's that. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this review, and I will continue to review this series because this is certainly becoming an interesting show to talk about week by week. It's so fun just getting in the mood of watching a show, being able to record it, being able to like upload it online. It's just a fun time to be a fan of like television and stuff like that. So yeah, bye. I'll see you next time for another review on the James Ramblin' Reviews, where we'll be talking about House of the Dragon Season 2 and a few more things that aren't just House of the Dragon. So yeah, bye.